Well, hi there. This is Phil Simborg reporting from lovely, lovely Cyprus, the largest backgammon tournament in the world, and certainly one of the best. The food, the hotel, the way the tournament is run, everything is fantastic. I had the pleasure of doing a boot camp the day before the tournament started. Mochi and I conducted it. We had some great help from Dennis Culpepper, Michi, and Ben Friesen, and we're joined later by Bob Wachtel and Falafel. Where do you see the picture of that group of people along with the students? It's really great. One of the things we did was play a practice match where we had discussions of the approach to playing matches and what you should be thinking about in terms of match score, strategy, and of course some individual positions. And in the one that I conducted with Dennis, we came up with many, many positions where we took pictures and put them in and discussed with the students the best way to handle the cube and checker plays. But here are the more interesting ones that came out of that match. You can test yourself. There's only 8 of them, and you can pause the video after you see what the position is and then make your decision and then go on and get the right answer. So let's start right in with number 1. It is a 5-point match. The score is 5 away, 5 away. Red is on roll. Should red double? If red doubles, should blue take or pass? See what you think. Again, pause the video if you want more time. Otherwise, I'm going to move right along quickly for those that don't want more time. And you can see the answer is it is not a double. And this looks scary to blue, doesn't it? And it's not even a double. Red's got to get that back checker out. Blue is very likely to come in. Red's got a lot of work to do to bring this game home. We did think it was a double over the board, and it's not a big mistake to double .031. And from a practical standpoint, I really think this is a good double, because you know that you're going to get some passes here. In fact, you only need to get passes 7% of the time to justify it. But I think in match play and in money play, if you use Woolsey's law first, put yourself in the opponent's shoes, I don't think an opponent is going to be comfortable getting this cube. It looks scarier than it is. A very strong player will readily see this as a take. It would be a monster blunder to pass. But again, over the board, when you're really close, and if you see a position that you think your opponent might pass or might be scary, it's probably not a bad idea to get that cube. Again, you're making a small mistake here, but look what you gain if they make a mistake of passing. I actually was surprised this wasn't a double. I thought it was. Okay, number 2, blue to play 4-2. Obviously, there are 2 plays here that make any sense. See if you can come up with those 2 plays. That should take you about 3 seconds. You could hit off the bar point or make the 4-point. What play do you think is right, and why? Okay, here it comes the spoiler. You make the point. And I know lots of people hit here. Why did they hit? Because on an opening roll, when your opponent rolls a 6-something and then you roll a 4-2, it's better to hit than to make the point. But this isn't the opening roll. There's some differences in this position. Red's got 3 checkers back. You've got an extra checker on your 8-point on the stack. And by the way, if you only had 3 checkers there, and it was pretty much like this, it would pretty much still be the same play. You make the 4-point here. If you hit, the odds of getting hit back are tremendous, and you haven't gained very much, and you get another checker back. You gain a real asset making the 4-point, even if your opponent rolls a 5 or a 6 and makes your bar point. You've gained most of the time on this play, and you don't gain most of the time by hitting. That's the point. You would have to have them come in and not hit you back and then make that point, or make another point and do something to actually improve your position significantly by hitting. So this is, if you had another point in your inner board, if you had them outboarded, if the score gave you more importance to the gammons, then hitting might be certainly more of a priority. Okay, number 3, red to play 2-2. 2-2 is one of my favorite rolls because there's so many different ways to play it, and I think it's one of the most mismanaged rolls consistently in backgammon. So, red to play 2-2, cube in the center. The score has changed here now. It's 3 away, 5 away, but I don't think the score is going to affect the play that much. You're going to have the same play, I think, for money. So you're coming in with 1-2 off the bar, and you've got 3 more 2s to play. Give it some thought, pause the video. And most people agree that the logical plays are to make the 4-point, come in, make the 4-point, and then you have another 2 to play, which either you would come down or split, or you hit 2. You come in and hit this checker and this checker. Well, it turns out that hitting 2 is what one of the students wanted to do. That's very wrong. It's very important to make the 4-point. You're outboarded. You don't want to get into a major hitting game, and you're not outboarded anymore when you make the 4 points. So that's key. And of course, you want to, in case things go bad or things get tough, you don't want to give up your anchor. There's too many rolls where you come in and get hit. So bringing this checker down is is a strong asset. You're getting more on the offensive here anyway. And this checker's pretty safe. Only a 5-6 hits that checker. If your opponent rolls a 5-6 and hits that checker, they're sacrificing the 6 that could be used to make their bar point. So you're duplicating. This is clearly the best play. Number 4, blue to play 4-1. Now again, blue's coming in for the bar. He can't hit this checker, unfortunately, for him. And he has to come in on the 1. So it's very simple. You have a 4 to play, and there's only really 2 logical choices for the 4. What do you think they are? Well, come up to your opponent's 20 point, or you hit. It's that simple. 2 choices. You can flip a coin and be right half the time. And if you want to be a great backgammon player, you better be right a lot more than half the time. Okay, the right play is to come up. Hitting is, pardon me, when you hit, you're putting a checker where you don't want it. And when you don't hit, you're putting a checker where you do want it. You'd love to make your opponent's 5 point. You like to get your checkers advanced. And if you hit and you're successful, you got that checker sitting there on the 2 point that you're either going to have it's going to be a liability later, or you're going to make the 2 point, which is not the point you want to make. I love that theory that McGrill talks about listening to the checkers. They tell you where they want to be. And these checkers don't want to be on the 2 point, and you do want to be up. These checkers would like to be up here. So that's really mostly what it boils down to. Let's move on. Blue on roll, cube action. If you were blue, would you double here? And if you were red, would you take or pass? Now we have the advantage over you don't have over the board, but certainly any good player would count the pips here and see that red is ahead by 2 pips in the pip count. Blue is on roll. Should he double? If he doubles, should red take or pass? By the way, there is a score here. Blue is 3 away. He's leading. And red is 5 away. So blue is ahead in the match. It's winning 2-0 in a match to 5. Give it some thought. All right. The double is clear. It's a huge double, and it's a small pass. And that surprises lots of people, that both sides. First of all, one of the reasons it's so beautiful to double is your high numbers are good for the race. Your low numbers, including 1s, hit. And if you hit, right now it says you have about 14.5% gammon wins. After you hit, it would be a lot more. So that's one reason. If you lose your market by hitting, you lose your market tremendously. We all know that highly volatile cubes and highly volatile situations like this are situations where you should turn the cube, because you lose your market so much, and you're going to be very, very sorry if you didn't cube and you hit. How sorry are you when you cube and you don't hit? Not that sorry. You're still got a pretty good game. And the other thing that most people don't realize is you're not really losing this race by 2 pips. That's the raw pip count. There's a lot of wastage here. If you understand the Keith count or Trice or eyesight or any of the modern methods, EPC, that calculate your winning chances and bearing off, there's a lot of extra stackage of checkers on the 1 and 2 point in the open 5 and 6 point. Make the race not that good for red, so that if you do miss, you're still okay. Now, if you miss, yes, blue could leave a shot and get hit, but first of all, you might not leave a shot. Second of all, you might leave a shot and not get hit. And third of all, you might leave a shot, get hit, and still win. So, because red doesn't have a killer board. So this is a pass. Now, that's the side that surprised me a little bit. I mean, I wasn't sure it was a take, but I thought it was a take. Over the board, I have to admit that I thought this was a take. But you lose the match. If you get hit and get gammon, and it could happen a lot, it's just not worth it to take this cube. But again, if you make a mistake, as I did, in this position, you're only making a 2% error. I could live with that. In fact, if you were playing a far better player than yourself, if you're sitting here in the tournament in Cyprus, where we have an incredible number of great players, by the way, Mochi, Falafel, Michi, so these are 3 that had to be certainly 3 of the best players in the tournament. They all lost one match, and of course, you can lose 2 and still win the tournament. So they're still in the fighters bracket, and a couple of them are even knocked out of that on the second day after the first day. So this is a very, very tough tournament. I don't think Akiko's alive in the undefeated. The only one I can think of that I know personally right now that's undefeated, and that means they've won 4 matches, is Ed O'Loughlin. He's the hottest player in the world, as well as probably the best player that's not on the best active player in the game today that's not in the top 32 on the Giants list, which we all know is a travesty. Ed's a great player, and he's proving it with his results. Okay, let's get on to number 6. Blue to play 3-3. We do have a score situation here. This is 1 away, 5 away Crawford. So gammons really are well, gammons could matter if Blue could win a gammon. If Red could win a gammon, I'm sorry. So Blue doesn't care about winning gammons at all. He just wants to win the game. So what's Blue's best play to win the game with double 3? Okay, coming out to the bar is a must. You're getting primed in here, and if you don't get off this point, you're going to start stripping everything else, and you can get stuck here and get primed in. So you must make these 2 to the bar. The question is the other 2. The student wanted to bring up the back checker. Dennis Culpepper made a very good point that that's not such a hard thing to do to get that back checker out of here, and he's not under threat. You can do something much more productive with the other 2 3s. So there are 3 other things you can do with the other 3 3s. Of course, you wouldn't continue and disconnect and leave this checker stranded, and this bar is a big asset. So there's really 3 other things you can do. You can bring 2 checkers down, you can make the 5-point, or you can make the 3-point. Well, we know the checkers don't want to be on the 3-point. Ask Mr. McGrill when he was listening to these checkers, is that where they want to be? Making the 5-point is always a strong consideration and was the play that some people like. The best play is to bring the 2 down. You can make the 5-point, but the 5-point becomes less important when they're split and you're giving them 6s out. So this point is already pretty valuable. It's pretty valuable to hold the 8-point, and you're getting an additional new asset by making the 10-point. The 10-point is somewhat of a blocking point, a good building point. It's part of a prime, and you're gaining an asset. You can see the difference between the 2. Oops, I clicked on it wrongly, but let me go back. The difference between the 2 plays is 0.019. It's not huge, but it's a little better to bring these checkers down and create a new asset. Running from the back and coming out to here isn't terrible, but again, ask yourself, what can I do, and what's harder to do? It's harder to make a point here with these checkers, and much easier to get this checker out of here later by rolling a 6. So, hope you made the right play. Hope you understand it. Let's go to number 7, double 2 to play again. My favorite double to have double trouble with. Blue on roll. This is 3 away, 3 away. This is a little out of order, I know, from the score standpoint. I didn't do this chronologically, but the score is 3 away, 3 away. The cube has been turned. Red is holding the cube, and you should know at 3 away, 3 away, the gammon value is 0.5. You don't get full credit for a value for a gammon because you're getting 1 more point than you need. It's inefficient. And if you don't win the gammon, you get to Crawford, which is very efficient because you get the advantage of Crawford. So that reduces the gammon value from what you would normally think a gammon would do for you by winning the match. Gammon value has a very high value if you're 4 away and you win the match exactly. It's very efficient to win a gammon. So keep in mind the gammons are worth half as much. That aspect of it should come into play in your double 2 decision. How do you play it? All right, I'm very proud that I got this one right. Everybody should pretty much immediately switch points and hit off the ace point. Then it's a question, and this is where Dennis and I in the discussion didn't entirely agree, and this is one I got right, and Dennis usually gets them right because he's a better player than me, and he's incredibly sharp. That's why we included him as one of our Backgammon Learning Center teachers and in the boot camp. I got this part right. After you switch, Dennis and others like to come up and get off this point. I like to give myself 2 builders for the 3-point. I know it's dangerous if he does roll a 3-5 or a 3-6, but those are the only 2 rolls that really hurt him. With any other roll, including a non-3 or any 3 that isn't a 3-5 or 3-6, these 2 checkers become a monstrous advantage in being able to either hit him loose off the 3-point if he comes in or make the 3-point. So I thought it was very important to deliver these builders as opposed to coming off of the 18 point. It was right. And again, we have to switch to slow him down. We can't afford for him to roll a 6 and get loose. The switching point is a play is something that many intermediates miss that open players instantly take a look at as at least an option. Now, begs the question, what would happen if this point was covered? And that's why I wasn't afraid to take the risk of leaving these blots out here. They're blots if they get hit, they're builders if they don't. So the definition of what these are depends on what is rolled. But if this point is covered, then it is a lot more dangerous to leave this. So I ran it covering that point, and then it makes it clear that you don't leave him the 3-5 and 3-6, because that would be very, very hurtful. When he has the blot there, if you roll a 3-5 or 3-6, that might even be a good thing. If you pick up this other checker, you can win a lot more gammons. So I thought that was interesting, so I just ran this variation, which, again, I highly recommend when you're looking at a position and trying to understand the play. See what you would have to do to make the play change, either changing the score, the position of the cube, the roll, or the checkers. You can change all 4 of those things and help you understand the original position much better. Okay, last one, number 8, blue to play 3-2, and this is 3-away, 3-away with the cube turn, and I've already helped you some. I've told you that gammons are worth 0.5, half as much. So you have a clear decision here. Should you take 2 checkers off and win more gammons and possibly lose more games? Or certainly you will lose more games if you take 2 checkers off, because if you roll a 5-1 or 6-1, leave a shot and get hit, you might lose. Or you play safe off the 6 point and almost always win the game. You can pretty close to 100%. Although in my shoe it wouldn't be. With our crooked dice, anybody could win. I'm joking, of course. But do you play for the gammon or not? Well, as we said over the board, we were right in the way you calculate this. Pardon me. You should play for the gammons if you think you can get twice as many gammons as the number of games that you might lose as a result. It's not that hard to calculate how many games you might lose. You're going to leave a shot with a 6-1 or a 5-1, that's about 11%. You're going to get hit about a third of the time. So that's about 3.5 losses by leaving a shot and getting hit. And by the way, you don't lose every one of those games. If you leave a shot and get hit, you might still win this game. You might still have this blot here. You might still be able to come in and win this game. So maybe you lose 2%, something like that. So are you going to win 4% more gammons as a result? And over the board, I wasn't sure. The truth is, you don't win enough. You're better off playing safe. And you can see the numbers right here. You do win close to 4% more gammons, but you're giving up 3% wins in total. Pardon me. I really didn't think you lost that much more, because, again, after you get hit, I thought you had more life, but evidently you don't. So, it's a tough decision. The difference isn't that great, but the important thing is to learn the approach and the concepts. And I hope this helped you. Sorry about my coughing. Very little sleep. I had to stay up and watch the Cubs win the World Series the other night. And I had good company with Mochi and Carter and Eric McAlpine and Tim Line. We could not go to sleep. We had to watch the World Series. And go Cubbies. We were very excited about that. And I'm still recovering, trying to recover for the loss of sleep and playing in the tournament, running a boot camp, doing the collegiate program, and a bunch of other things. But we'll see you in Las Vegas, where we're going to have another boot camp, and join us there. It'll be fun. Every one of our participants at the Cyprus boot camp reported they had a terrific experience, learning experience, and it was enjoyable to just sit down and talk with Mochi and Michi, Dennis Culpepper, Bob Wachtel, Falafel, players of that level, and we're going to have players of that level with us in portions of our boot camp in Vegas as well. So I hope you'll join us. Go online to blcbootcamps.com and you can sign up. And even if you don't sign up for the boot camp, we look forward to seeing you at future tournaments. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.